What is going on, Internet? Another video coming at you from the Washington Football Report. This is JD. Before I dive into this, let me go over a couple things. First off, I have a podcast out. First episode was launched last week. Working on the second episode. We'll launch it today. It'll probably be draft related. Second announcement, I have an announcement. I will be on the Warpath podcast. It's a YouTube channel. It's called On the Warpath. I'll be on there tomorrow night. I don't know if it's a live stream, but it's either going to be a live stream tomorrow night or it's going to be probably posted Wednesday morning. So keep an eye out for that. I do recommend you go subscribe to them. A lot of good Redskin content, a lot of good Washington content. Let me phrase that. And also follow me on Twitter, WFT Report, capital WFTR, and then the rest is lowercase. And then follow me on Sided. Sided is a streaming or a debate app. I recommend. It's a very fun, very enjoyable. A lot of Washington content. If you follow me, it's the same name, WFT Report. So let's dive into this. So this is going to be my draft video. Some things I want to say about this before I get started. This has been a very difficult year to figure out what any team's going to do in the draft, much less Washington. The reason why is with the pandemic, there's not as many game films. Sometimes you got to go back to the year before, and you just don't know how guys have progressed. So they really have to rely on intuition, a lot of film study, and just your gut feeling. So I've done a lot of, if you watch my video, I've done a lot of scenarios where they trade back, they trade up. And I've done a lot of them where they just pick where they're at and don't change anything. So that's a possibility. That is definitely a possibility that Washington has. They can do all those things. But I initially wanted Washington to trade up for Zach Wilson. I still think he's the best quarterback in the draft. But I don't see that scenario happening. And I want to come up with the best possible scenario for Washington. Where they don't give up a lot of capital, but they still fill a lot of spots on the team. Okay? Washington right now has, not to mention Ron Rivera's very unpredictable draft with his draft. I've only seen one draft fizz with Washington, and for the most part, I got 5 of his draft picks right, but also got a handful of them weren't even on my radar. Okay, Bruce Allen was different. Bruce Allen, I could pretty much predict everything he was going to do and be pretty accurate, at least with the positions at when they got them. So it's a little bit trickier this year. But I think I have the ultimate draft that Washington could have to have the best outcome. Okay? So without further ado, let's dive into the draft. So Washington has 8 picks. They have the first pick. Hold on, let me get it on here. They have the 19th pick in the first round, second round, and 4th and 5th and 7th round. And then they have the 10th pick in the third, 18th pick in the third, and 17th pick in the 7th. So they have a decent amount of picks, a lot of good picks in there. But I think Washington's going to want to accumulate some more draft capital towards the second round, towards the second and third round. I think there's a lot of guys here that can fill their roster with some very good talent, fill holes. And with Ron's player analysis, I think he's going to be able to hit the nail on the head and get the guys that are going to be able to play. And not a lot of them be not like players that can't play or like they're not going to be busts. That's the best way to put it. So, without further ado. So, with the first pick in the 2021, with the 19th pick in the first round, the 2020 NFL Draft, the Washington football team will trade down. The Washington football team will trade down with the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns have the draft pick of the number, I think it's the 26th pick in the first round. Okay? So they have the 26th pick in the first round. So Washington will trade with them. Trade back to the 26th pick. Hold on. 26th pick in the first round. Okay? They will also do a couple other things. They will get in that trade. They will get a second round, 27th pick in this year's draft, and the third round, 27th pick. Washington will lose their 7th rounder this year, one of them, the later 7th rounder. So it's not too big a deal, but they'll lose the 7th rounder this year in that draft. So Washington will trade back. Cleveland will grab somebody, but 26, Washington will draft. And I've seen a lot of mock drafts. This is why I can't trust a lot of these engines. A lot of these engines have guys all over the place, by the way. Guys all over the place. I've seen some where Micah Parsons falls, and this would be a great place to pick him up if he did fall, but I don't think he will. I think a lot of guys are going to overlook his off the field issues, and he may fall to this, but that's not who I have Washington taking. I think Ron doesn't want problems, and he might see some of Micah Parsons' issues as problems. He didn't like Darius Geis for a reason, and he cut him as soon as he got word that he did some pretty bad crap. Let's just put it that way. So I think he'll draft Jeremiah. Hold on. With the 26th pick in the first round of the NFL draft in 2021, Washington, after a trade with the Cleveland Browns, will draft at number 26 Jeremiah Usakoromoa, linebacker from Notre Dame. I think he is a very good fit for this system. He's athletic. Playing behind our defensive line, he'll be able to run sideline to sideline, make tackles. I do think they'll play him at middle linebacker. I don't think they'll play him at outside. I think they'll play him at middle. He's got the speed. He's got everything. He's a good tackler. He's exactly what the type of personality Washington needs to go along with the rest of the team. He's going to bring his Notre Dame, lineage or whatever you want to call it. His good ability, his speed will play really well with the rest of the guys around him. Guys aren't going to let him fail. They'll put him in good spots. He'll be able to go sideline to sideline, untouched by the offensive line, and he'll just be able to make tackles sideline to sideline. He's a very athletic, very good linebacker. There's some other good ones. I think Washington, I didn't go over that. So I think Washington will actually draft 2 linebackers in this draft that are going to actually play good minutes. Okay. So that is the first pick that Washington will take in this draft. Now Washington will, at pick 30, Washington will actually trade back into the first round. So after the 26th pick, they don't have a pick again until the second round. And it's the 19th pick in the second round. But what Washington's going to do is at pick number 32, the last pick in the first round, Washington is going to trade back into the first round. So they give up their second rounder that they got from the Browns and their second rounder next year. Okay? And they're going to give up a fifth next year too. So they're going to give up 3 picks next year. They're going to trade back into the first round at pick 32, and they're going to draft quarterback Kyle Trask. Okay? So I want to make sure I'm writing this down so I don't forget it. I'm pretty sure I have this. Trask. Okay. They will trade and get Kyle Trask. The reason why they're going to do that is because, one, they're going to get that 5th-year option. And I think Kyle Trask is a good quarterback you can grab, and he can sit for a year. If you grab the quarterback that was higher in the first round, this is why I didn't like Trey Lance, and I've put plenty of videos out. I'm not going to talk about that now. I think that is a quarterback that you have to start right away if you're playing him that high. This guy is basically a second-round talent, but I think Washington's going to want to get that 5th-year option. So they're going to trade back into the first round. They're going to do similar to what they did with Montez Sweat a couple years ago. They traded back up with Montez Sweat, gave up 2 firsts to get back into the first round in like the 20s, and drafted Montez Sweat alongside, Dwayne Haskins. So I think they're going to do very, very similar to that. They're going to trade back into the first round, last pick in the first round, to get that 5th-year option on their quarterback, Kyle Trask, and he will be the future quarterback of Washington. Like I said, he won't start this year. He's not being drafted for for anything other than he's gonna learn how to play quarterback this year. Okay, so let's keep that in mind as we move forward here. That is why we're drafting. I'm not drafting him to start this year. Okay, I'm not drafting him to start this year at all. Okay, so that eliminates one of our second round picks we accumulated. So that one's gone, but we still have our 19th pick. Okay. The 19th pick, Washington has a lot of options here. They need an offensive tackle. We got a linebacker. We got a quarterback. We need an offensive tackle. Okay. We got an offensive tackle. We need tight end, free safety. Those are the 3 positions that we need to fill with these next few picks. And I think we can actually get another linebacker and another offensive tackle as well. I think there's 3 positions here that we can fill, or all these positions we can fill. We can also add depth to one of them, as a couple other positions as well. So with the 19th pick in the NFL draft, the Washington football team will draft. It's actually a tough decision because there's a guy I want. You know what? I'm going to draft the guy I want, not the guy that's available. Not the guy. Not the other guy. Washington will draft Richie Grant, free safety from the University of Central Florida. I think Richie Grant is a perfect contrast to Cameron Curl. There we go. He's a perfect contrast to him. He's got good athleticism. He can cover well. He'll play deep. I think he's exactly what we need to add next to him. And he's a very highly touted player. He may not even be available at this point. It's possible. So Washington could definitely go offensive tackle here. There's Spencer Brown. I've seen Cosme fall to this one a couple times. But I think this is like the perfect spot to draft Richie Grant. So that's basically where we're at. I think Washington can grab Richie Grant right there. They've solidified the free safety position, and everyone talks about how they're moving Landon Collins. Landon Collins is done in a year, so I still think we need a linebacker, okay? But I think we're going to draft Richie Grant with the second-round pick at 19. Now, that moves us on to the third round. When in the third round, we have 3 picks. We have the third pick, and the 10th pick, the 18th pick, and the 27th pick. Okay, so let's just see right here really quick. I think Washington, there we go, draft him. And I think what Washington's going to do next is in these next 3 picks, Washington is going to have to draft an offensive tackle, okay, a tight end, and they also need to draft another linebacker. I think those are the 3 needs they need to hit in this round right here, okay? So with the rehash, they have Jeremiah Cormoa, middle linebacker, Kyle Trask, future quarterback. They also have Richie Grant, free safety. So now they need to go offensive tackle. So offensive tackles that'll be available right here. There's not a lot. There's definitely been some. There's guys that are going to fall and be available in some spots. But I think Washington will be able to snag Spencer Brown right here. Offensive tackle out of University of Northern Iowa. Okay. Spencer Brown, solid. He's big guy, like 6'8". Big guy, offensive tackle. Definitely can be pretty good protecting that blind side. I think that's where they want to go with that. I think he's right now they have Cornelius Lucas. He ain't gonna last forever. But I think this is very good value that Washington can get at this point in the draft. So that's with our 10th pick in the third round. Okay. Now moving on to the 18th pick in the third round. Washington, I believe, now has some pretty good opportunities now to grab a couple other players. Now, this guy has been falling to Wash. I'm actually not even take that guy. I'm going to take a different person. So the 18th pick in the third round, I think Washington will look back at their linebacking position. Okay, I hope he's here. Maybe you got to take him at 10 instead, and then hopefully Spencer Brown's available at 18. But I think Washington will then draft linebacker out of. Keep forgetting to do that. Washington will draft linebacker Jabril Cox, linebacker out of LSU. So that is the 18th pick in the third round. That's who Washington will draft. And he is a solid linebacker. I think you pair him, if your linebacking core is him, Cormoa, and Holcomb, you're going to do very well. He's fast. He can hit hard. He can run support. He can cover. Now, there is another option we could take there, which is I'm going to put like an asterisk next to it, because I think Jabril Cox has a possibility of really going before that. And there's a lot of rumor that this kid might be available. He might not, but we also might take the possibility of taking Jamin Davis there. If he's available, I think it's. I don't think you can miss on this. I think you have either one of those. I think you're sound doing that. Okay, so now we are at the 20th pick. The 27th. Yeah, 27th pick in the third round. Our last pick that we've accumulated from the Browns. Okay, So now this is our last pick, and then we go in the fourth and fifth round, and we got rid of our seventh rounder, one of our seventh rounders. Washington's going to need to draft. Let's make sure to just draft this guy and move forward. Okay. Washington's going to need to draft a tight end. Okay. Now, if he's fallen to this point, I think it would be a good idea for us to take Brevin Jordan. I think Brevin Jordan would be a very good pick to pick up right there. But I don't think Brevin Jordan's going to fall that far. If he does, great. So I'm going to put an asterisk next to this one too. But I don't think he will. If he's there, take him, obviously. But I don't think he will. That's the caveat I'm putting here. That's like Jabril Cox. If he's there, take him. But he may not be there, and Jamin Davis would be a good alternative. But Tommy Treble, tight end, out of the University of Notre Dame, would be a very solid tight end. Let me put Brevin Jordan. And I think Brevin Jordan would be the better fit now because he'll help us in the passing game almost immediately. Tommy Treble will be I don't want to say he'd be a project, but he'll be more of the blocking type tight end right now. And he'll grow into that receiving role more and more, kind of like they wanted Sprinkle to do, but he never actually panned out. I'm going to get a quick sip of my drink here. This is not sponsored by Mountain Dew, by the way. I do recommend you try it out. It's called Maui Burst. It's a pineapple-flavored Mountain Dew. Really good. And I don't like pineapple, so I thought I'd try it out. So, I think you can get your tight end there. Whether it's Brevin Jordan or I think Tommy Treble is a safe bet to get there. Honest, I do. Okay, I think Tommy Treble is the safe bet to get if you're looking to get one right there. He's the safe bet. But if I'm being like bluntly honest, I'd rather have Brevin Jordan. I'm being honest about that. But I don't think Brevin Jordan will fall to that late in the third round. It's possible, but I don't think he will. I really don't think he will. I think he'll get drafted somewhere early in the third. And maybe some people put more stock in him over Spencer Brown, so maybe he's available there. It's also possible he could be drafted in second. He's a day two guy. Doesn't mean it doesn't say whether he's going to be a second or third round pick. And he could possibly fall to the fourth, but I don't think he will fall to the fourth. I think he's too good a player to fall to the fourth. So yeah, that's why that's where I see Washington at this moment is taking him. Okay. So if we rehash our draft at this point, we've taken Jabril Cox, Trask, Richie Grant, Spencer Brown, Jabril Cox or Jamin Davis, Tommy Treble or Jordan. So there we got two linebackers, we have a quarterback, we have a free safety, okay, we have a tight end, we have an offensive tackle, okay. So I think we're actually going to draft another offensive tackle. And I think he should be available right here, but I don't know for sure if he will be. Okay? I don't know if he'll be available right here. I've seen so many mixed messages on where this guy will show up. I'm just going to go the safe route and draft him right now. So, go. So the 19th pick in the fourth round of the 2021 NFL Draft, Washington will draft Arlik Jackson. Arlik Jackson played for Iowa, I think Iowa State. Is it Iowa State University? Just Iowa. Iowa, okay. He played for Iowa. He was offensive tackle. He was like first team All Big Ten this year. He's been constantly like on their first or second all team. Very good player. Very good player. Very solid player. I think I see a lot of drafts where he falls. Like right now he's in the fourth round of the one I'm kind of looking at, kind of gauging like where the names are, the names I need to know. I've seen somewhere he falls all the way to seventh, and I don't understand that. I think Arlik Jackson gives you versatility. Spencer Brown doesn't give you that. I think Spencer Brown is a left tackle, and he's going to play left tackle because of how tall he is. You can't have a guard being 6'10" or 6'8". But I think Arlik Jackson, with his size and his abilities, I think he could actually do tackle or guard, and I think you're pretty good. You're just building some depth right there. Maybe some of you may think that's a little high to take him at that point. It's that you may be right. It may be definitely too high of a place to grab that player, but I think that's what Washington's going to need. I don't think Washington needs to have, they don't need to draft like 9 other players. I think a lot of the positions Ron is comfortable with, and he might add a little bit of depth here and there. But I don't think that Ron is going to want to leave some things a chance. I think he wants to add depth to his offensive line. He might add depth to his defensive line. And that's the biggest thing I think Ron's going to want to do. I've noticed that Ron doesn't exactly have a high value on certain players or certain positions. One of them, he doesn't actually value tight ends. He didn't go out and get a tight end this year. I thought he would. He's in the last 2 years he's taken 3 risk tight ends. Logan Thomas was a risk. Thaddeus Moss was a risk, and now with Reyes, those are 3 risk tight ends. I don't think he values the position that much, but eventually he's going to have to. He's going to have to, address that. Okay, he's going to have to address that. I think he's going to address that this year in this draft. So looking at our draft, we have 2 offensive tackles, 2 linebackers, a free safety, a tight end, and a quarterback. So what does Washington need beyond that point? I think we hit everything we really need. So what does Washington need now? I think Washington would probably need a running back would be something Washington might need. You can never have too many weapons on the offensive side of the ball. So I think a receiver would not be a horrible option to get this late. I think you can get a receiver in the late rounds, though. And that's just the way. This is a really big draft when it comes to receivers. And there's a lot of good talent at the receiving position that Washington can snag. Even in the 7th round, running backs are available. I have one running back I was getting in the 7th round. So 5th round, I think, though, you're going to go for some offensive weapons. Add a little bit of depth to the receiving core. Just to see if there's anyone else we can get. I know Washington's probably not looking for another speed back. There's 2 guys that are available that I think Washington's going to consider. 3 guys. Okay? So the first one Washington's going to consider is a player that I've actually thought Washington was going to draft before they signed Curtis Samuel. I thought he would have been a great pickup. You can get him in the 5th round, and it's exactly where he falls. His name's Marquez Stevenson. He's 5'10", 182 pounds. He is fast, though. Oh, my gosh, is he fast. He is a very fast player. He's out of Houston, and he's got one of the fastest 40 times in this draft. So he's one very good option. Now I'm going to bring up the other 2 options, and you'll see what I mean by there's options here, okay? But none of the options are the type of player Washington wants, but I think that you're not going to get the type of player Washington's going to need this late in the draft, okay? All the big target tight ends or receivers are pretty much going to be gone, except for one that I have later that's not available right at the moment, and I may have to explain it later. But there's not a lot of big receivers available. I'm looking up some of these guys, and none of these names are like huge guys. None of them like big targets. All of them are like speed burners. All of them are like 6 foot or smaller. They're all short. I'm trying to bring up this one guy's profile. Like this one guy, 6'1". I don't want to. Washington would need another big receiver unless they're happy with the big receivers. Just want to add depth. But I really don't think they're going to add a receiver at this point. Okay, what I really think they're going to add, and they have this pick and one more, and I got to decide very quickly what I want to do here. I think Washington will add another cornerback. They're going to add another cornerback or someone that's versatile. Okay. There's a player out of, I think it's Arizona State. Okay. And I have him right here, Jack Jones. I think Jack Jones is who they're going to draft in the 5th round. If you look at his profile, Jack Jones is kind of a, no pun intended, jack of all trades. He is a player that has a lot of abilities, but he can play free safety or cornerback. So, NFL draft. There we go. Got the right guy. All right. And, nope, that's the wrong guy. Free safety. There we go. Cornerback draft. Yeah, so he played for Arizona State. He's 5'9". He was listed as a cornerback, so I think we can draft him at corner, but he's also said that he can play the free safety position if needed. He said he has done it. So I think he would be a good option. He's very versatile, Very available player. Now, there's another player that's available here. So here's a couple options Washington has. And I'm leaving these two options on the table. So Jack Jones, or I think Washington will get a running back. There are two running backs that they can get at this spot that I would be very comfortable having on our roster. Okay, the first one is Eliza Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell from Louisiana Lafayette. Not a bad option, okay? Not a bad option at all. So the Washington's going to either take him here, okay? Let me put that there. Or they're going to take Jack Jones. And they're going to do that because Washington, it just really, like I said, Ron's hard to predict, so it just depends on what Washington's going to want. Maybe they might want to add a running back here. They may want to go the route of doing a running back somewhere else, okay? But for the sake of argument, I'm going to say that they take Jack Jones because Ron's all about defense. We haven't really focused much on the offensive weapon side. So then in the 7th round, Washington, I think, has 3 options. Okay? And these are weird. I know this is like weird. I'm not exactly like, I'm kind of just like highlighting all these guys that Washington could pick. And the reason why I'm doing that is late in the, like I said, it's a pandemic year. And I'm just trying to give the most accurate that I can. That's the best way I can put it without getting into too much. So, okay. So Washington has 3 options in the 7th round. Remember, we gave up one of our 7th rounders, which is not a big deal, in the trade with Cleveland, so they can have another player they can add to their roster in the late rounds. So we're at the 17th pick in the 7th round, and there's 3 really good players that Washington can have right now. So give me 1 second. Let me make sure I get the right guy up. Okay, and then the last option, there we go. Okay, so you have 3 options. If you're really looking to get another receiving weapon that's kind of big, you have the option going with Ben Skowronek. He is a receiver out of the University of Notre Dame. He's pretty tall. Bringing up his draft profile right now. My internet is garbage right now. He's 6'3", 220 pounds. I think he's a big target, so that's why I think Washington might go that route. I don't think they want to get a speed guy that late. They want to move on from players like Steven Sims. They need a big receiver here, and that's got a pretty decent 40 time. 4.59. It's not bad. I mean, he's not going to be a first receiver, so the fact that he's got a lower 40 time is not a big deal to me. He put up really good stats his last year in Notre Dame. He's a tall player. Is he the best player? Probably not. But that's why he's in the 7th round, and we can get value out of him. I think he can probably take the tight end role a couple times too. It's still, like I said, it's still pretty big. So Bennett Skowronek, which we could actually, honestly, probably get him undrafted. I've seen a lot of him where he goes undrafted, so that's a possibility. So if that's the case, and Ron wants to get him undrafted, wouldn't have an issue with that. So another option Washington might go. If they don't go with Eliza Mitchell, the running back out of Louisiana Lafayette, you have Raheem Boyd. Raheem Boyd, in a lot of drafts I've seen, is available in the 7th round. He's a solid runner. He played SEC football. He's had pretty good stats. I'm going to just look up his stats for you really quick. Raheem Boyd. He played for the University of Arkansas, whatever it's called, Arkansas Razorbacks. 2018, he had 123 rushes for 734 yards, 6 yards a carry. 2019, he had 184 rushes for 1,133 yards. That's actually really solid running, considering he's probably splitting time with other players. He's a very athletic back, very strong. He reminds me a lot, honestly, of Alfred Morris. The only difference I would say is Alfred Morris could not catch out of the backfield as good as he could. So that's where I think he'd be an upgrade. That's why I think 7th round is a really perfect place to grab him, because he's versatile. He can play the 3rd down back because he's big, but he can also play like in the passing game, coming out of the backfield, because he has that ability. So him and Elijah Mitchell are about that. Eliza Mitchell, I think, is a little more elusive. But we already have 2 elusive backs. We need a power back, and I think he would be able to do that. And I think he could still shake and bake some people at times. So that's an option. And then the last option, which I am not going to take credit for coming up with this. This has come from another YouTube channel called Street Scores. He came up with a player named Avery Williams. And I was skeptical, so I went and watched him. He's out of Boise State. He's a cornerback that also is really good on special teams. He's played offense a little bit. He's played receiver. He's fast. Like I said, he's a cornerback, so he's versatile. So Ron likes versatile players. So if they get Elijah Mitchell in the 5th round, they're probably going to go Avery Williams because they already have a running back. They need another piece to help with secondary, something versatile. The later you get in the draft, the more versatile, the better you're going to be. And I think Avery Williams wouldn't be a bad option. So I actually think Elijah Mitchell makes more sense because he can probably come in and play now. Boyd may not quite be ready. But Jack Jones, I think, is a little bit better to help the defense. But I think the defense doesn't need as much help as the offense. So it would make more sense. So I think I've just talked myself into finalizing who goes where. So Elijah Mitchell will be drafted in the 5th round, even though I wouldn't mind Raheem Boyd. And then Avery Williams will be drafted in the 7th round. I think Bennett Skowronek will go in the undrafted realm. And that's the draft. I mean, I think that's what Washington's going to do. So let's recap real quick. So Washington has to come in this draft. They need to get the real needs are linebacker. That's the biggest need they have, and maybe they need to get 2. Okay, free safety, offensive tackle, and then quarterback. Tight end, then quarterback, and then they need to fill in like other positions. And then get some versatility. So. Koromoa, middle linebacker, done. You play him behind our defensive line, he's going to thrive. Okay. Kyle Trask, quarterback. He can sit for a year. We trade back into the 1st round with the last pick in the 1st round and draft Kyle Trask. Okay. Then in our 2nd round with our 2019 pick, when we trade back for Joseph Koromoa, we're going to get the 26th pick in the 1st round. 27th pick in the 2nd, and 23rd pick in the 3rd round, and we're going to use that to trade back into the 1st round and grab Kyle Trask, quarterback. He can sit for a year. He's a 2nd round quarterback, but we're only doing that to get his 5th year option. That's going to be the thought process. He can sit here for a year, then he can start the next 4 years before we even have to pay him money, and that's when Washington has to kind of strike while the iron's hot and win a Super Bowl. Richie Grant, free safety out of Central Florida. Some may say that's a little bit of a reach. I've done some mock drafting, and he usually falls around like the not that high, but like the round like draft like 50 picks like 55 around like the first pick, last pick in the 2nd, first pick in the 3rd kind of area. So it might be a little bit of a reach, but I think when you need that position, it's not really a reach. It's a need. Okay. And then I think Washington going into the 3rd round, because now we're in the 3rd round. We have Spencer Brown, offensive tackle out of UNI. Okay. We're going to grab either Jabril Cox or Jamin Davis. I think if Jamin Davis is there, we're going to take Jamin Davis. He's more athletic than Cox. Cox, I think, is the more steady player, and he played better competition. But I think Jamin Davis might be the better one. But we're taking one of those 2. We're going to take a linebacker to that spot. And I think that's the 18th pick in the 3rd round. And then the 26th pick in the 3rd round, which is what we accumulated from, or 27th pick, I'm sorry, which we got from the Browns, will be Tommy Treble or Brevin Jordan. If Brevin Jordan's there, we take him. But I think Tommy Treble is the safer bet of what we're going to get at that position. And then in the 4th round, we're going to draft Arlik Jackson, offensive tackle out of Iowa. And I think he has versatility. He can play guard, he can play tackle. And I think adding these guys with the offensive line we have now, and like Shadik Charles and like the guys we have now, I think they're gonna fill in really nicely, at least for depth for the 1st year, and for the foreseeable future. I think Shadik Charles will be either left guard or left tackle. If you go that route, Spencer Brown can play left tackle if he's left guard, and then when what's his name leaves, Brandon Sheriff, you have Arlik Jackson take that right guard spot. Pretty easily slide in there. So, and in the 5th round, I've convinced myself that Elijah Mitchell makes the most sense. You didn't really do a lot for the offensive weapon side, so adding him gives you another running back. And Avery Williams is a more valued pick where you get him than where Jack Jones is. I think Avery Williams can play special teams immediately. He can play in nickel packages. He can be a corner. He can be a safety. He has so much versatility. It would make more sense to grab a guy with more versatility later rounds than to grab a guy with a little bit of versatility earlier rounds. So you get more value out of that 7th round pick. And I do think there's some of the undrafted guys, possibly Bennett Skarnek. Big target. He could play the tight end spot in some passing, not blocking, but just passing routes. So I think that's where he's at. So that is my draft. That is who I think Washington will draft will get in this draft. If you have any comments about this, please put it in the comment section down below. I'm always willing to debate. Don't call me stupid. I had people that said I had the dumbest video ever put on YouTube because I intelligently argued my point about why Trey Lance is going to suck in the pros, or that at least he's not a first rounder. And no one has given me a good enough argument. I'm going off in this 2 seconds. No one's yet to give me a good enough argument as to why he will thrive in the pros. So I'm still curious for that argument. But this is my draft. I think Washington, this would be the best case scenario. So they fill every position they have. It makes the most sense. And yeah, that's what I think Washington's going to do. So let me know what you think down below. And hail to the Redskins. See ya.